of the United States Supreme Court to be of the United States Supreme Court.
All right, that was President Trump last night in a Celebrity Apprentice-style runoff. They came down to the final two, and he got the final rose, if you will. Stephen Wormel is a law professor at American University in Washington, D.C. Good morning, sir. Thanks for joining us here in St. Louis.
Good morning. Glad to be with you.
Was this gentleman on President Trump's list during the campaign?
He was. He actually wasn't on the first list. I don't know if folks remember that Trump released one list and then supplemented it a short time later with a second group. So he was on the second list. But yeah, he's been high on the radar screen for a while. And
the original thoughts, it seems like he's about as pristine of a pick as you could possibly get.
He's he's got a lot going for him. Very, very likable, clear writer and thinker, very well respected by his colleagues. If there are any skeletons, nobody has found them yet or talked about them yet. So yeah, he's a pretty pristine pick.
So where are the Democrats going to pick at him if he is if he's such a great pick? How are the Democrats going to find something to complain about?
Well, it's got to be substantive rather than personal. There's really, I don't think, anything to attack him on personally. So the fight is going to be a legal fight. That the Democrats think his views are too conservative and will tilt the court in too much of a conservative direction. And whether they'll get anywhere with that remains to be seen, and how far they'll push it remains to be seen.
Democrats, though, have a line of questioning. They can ask about the emollients clause. What are his thoughts, right, with President Trump having some issues there? He can ask about a travel ban, religious only. I mean, there are going to be some places where they can at least try and embarrass him on the answers to cause a little controversy. They
can. The Supreme Court confirmation process in the Senate is always a very weird drama. The senators ask questions, and the nominee can't really answer them because he doesn't want to commit to issues that he might have to rule on. So you get this odd kind of dance. Joe Biden once called it kabuki theater, where the senators can't quite ask what they really want to ask, and the nominee can't quite answer what they really want to know. So they'll ask those questions, but how much we'll find out, is unclear.
What's interesting is he wrote a book about assisted suicide, which is interesting because normally Supreme Court or justices that might be on the Supreme Court aren't writing books, and if they are, they're not writing about what they think. He was very much against assisted suicide, which is sort of an odd thing for a judge to write about.
He wrote it earlier in his career, but you're right, it does put him out there on a set of issues that he could face various questions and having to rule as a judge. We haven't had somebody do that in 30 or 40 years. Justice William O. Douglas years ago used to write books on all kinds of subjects, but this is unusual. I think the abortion groups on both sides are trying to read that book and his writings and look for tea leaves there about whether this tells them anything about his views on abortion.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, Stephen Wormel, law professor at American University, it's a guess. He could get on the court, and somebody thinks he's a Scalia, and he turns out to be a Ginsburg.
There is a great body of lore about how particularly Republican nominees turn out to be more moderate once they get on the court. Neil Gorsuch has been very high on the list of conservative organizations for quite a while as somebody that they admire and somebody they think is genuinely one of them. But, it has happened before.
Do you think the 60-vote threshold will hold, or will they change that because the Democrats will be so upset because of the failure of Merrick Garland?
That's the $64,000 question. I don't know whether the Democrats will push it seen this morning that a number of Democratic senators have already said that while they oppose the nomination, they wouldn't favor a filibuster. And if that is the case, then the Democrats may not be able to push for the 60 votes, and it may actually go through on a regular majority vote. But I think we have to see how that's going to play out. There's certainly some Democrats who want a filibuster.
Yeah. Stephen Wormo, law professor at American University in Washington, D.C., thanks for joining us on a busy morning for you.
I'm glad to be with you. Thanks.
You got it. We should also say that Greg Willard, SLU law professor, the KTRS legal analyst, is going to join us at 9 o'clock to talk about all of this, as well as the ban on refugees and immigrants from the executive order earlier in the week. So we got lots to get to with all of this starting at 9 o'clock. We should also say that all of the guests and all the interviews are up on KTRS.com. So if you miss any of it, or you can't stay in the car, or you're busy, or whatever else, or you want to hear it again, just go to KTRS.com. 657 KTRS.